The first thing that you want to do when soloing floor 7 is to clear the dungeon. You should get all the secrets as the blessings help a lot during the 4 phases of Necron. I'll be using my floor 7 solo completion video uploaded a few days ago to help show how you can solo floor 7. I'll speed up the video of me clearing the dungeon so we can get to the harder part. Before going into the portal, you need to put on spider or tarantula boots, and while going into the portal, spam your spacebar. This will allow you to fly during the boss fight, making the fight actually possible to solo. Phase 1 of Necron is pretty simple. You fly to one of the crystals first and place it on the designated spot. You won't actually be able to place the crystal until Necron starts moving, and you can't have more than one crystal in your inventory at once. Once both crystals are down, fly over to the rail track area and lure Necron into the laser. If you want to be safe like me, you should kill most of the miners in the main area to prevent dying to skulls shot by the miners. The top of the laser actually doesn't have a hitbox, so you have to lure Necron into the bottom half of the laser. Once he gets hit, Necron will be stunned for a few seconds, and you need to deal damage to him until 3/4 of his total health remains. If you are unable to do enough damage, Necron will start his frenzy, and you will have to collect the crystals again and repeat the process. Once Necron is at 3/4 of his total health, he will bring you to the second phase. Phase 2 of Necron is for sure the hardest part to solo. I had trouble finding a consistent strategy to crush Necron, but the one I came up with after some testing is as follows. First, you need to clear all the miners, archers, and shadow assassins, including the ones on the sides. This is to prevent them from slowing you down as you fly across the map. However, miners and archers do spawn around you occasionally, and you have to be aware of this because the timing to crush Necron is quite precise. Next, you want to set up the crushers in one of two ways. The first way is to set it up so that when you step on it the next time, it will end up at the bottom. The other way is to set it up so that the crusher is touching the floor, or basically the starting position. This allows you to have the maximum amount of time that Necron is still able to be crushed by it. I also noticed that standing on the center of the pressure plate makes it easier to move the crusher. After, you want to fly to the complete opposite corner of the crusher that is set up. Get Necron to as close to the corner as possible, and then quickly fly back to the pressure plate that is set up. Because you fly faster than Necron, this gives the most time to activate the pressure plate and lure Necron into it. Make sure not to get hit by any archers on the way back, and be sure to get off the pressure plate right after it activates. Also, Necron will pull you towards him sometimes, in which case you need to fly back to the opposite corner and retry. My first crush at the purple pressure plate didn't have the crusher end at the bottom, but I still managed to have enough time to drag Necron into it. This is the clip from the video. My green crush was much better, as the crusher ended up at the bottom and it was a bit easier to bring Necron into it because of that. The yellow crusher was definitely the scariest one, because sometimes there is a glitch chunk at the very corner of the red pressure plate, and if Necron flies into this chunk, the run is over because it is impossible to get Necron out, and you cannot damage him, so you cannot move on to the third phase. Because I knew about this, I couldn't bring Necron to the very corner, and ended up barely crushing him in time. After the last crush, go to the red crusher and wait until Necron breaks the ground to move to phase 3. Some skulls from phase 2 could follow you into phase 3, and they don't disappear until after Necron comes down, but you don't have time to wait for Necron, so you should let the skulls hit you as soon as you fall down. I didn't do this and almost died because of it. There isn't really a trick to Phase 3, except just completing the terminals as fast as possible. There are a few helpful tips though, such as fast tracking Simon Says by spamming the last button in each sequence of patterns. This allows you to skip rounds and basically fast track it. I'll play the clip of me doing it twice. I actually almost die again in Phase 1 because of my slow Simon Says, but it ends up working out. I'm not sure if this other one counts as a trick, but one of the terminals is to click all the items that start with a certain letter. There are a variety of mods that clearly show you which items start with that letter, instead of going through all the items as you normally would. The one that I'm using is called Danker's Skyblock mod, and a link to it can be found in the description. The last tip for Phase 3 is to know whether the archery device in the last quadrant is glitched or not. Luckily, the one in my completion video worked the first time, so I didn't have to worry about this. Sometimes when you stand on the pressure plate and shoot at the emerald blocks would disappear before the arrow actually reached them, and in which case you would have to step off the pressure plate entirely and then stand back on it and shoot the emerald blocks again. One way to fix this would be to, instead of standing on the pressure plate, you would throw an item onto it and then fly over to the emerald blocks and shoot them at close range. The last phase of Necron isn't actually too hard if you're careful. Because I'm a berserk, I went to the corner of the pillar on the right and could easily deal damage there. You could also fly around the area damaging Necron, like I did near the end. When Necron flies to the middle, I switched to a damage pet, which was a legendary wither skeleton, but other pets such as the tiger should work as well. You need to deal enough damage to Necron so that his blast radius slowly shrinks. Once his blast radius becomes 0, he will say the words ARG, and then you can melee him for a few seconds. Be sure to switch back to your regular pet as he deals a lot of burst damage once he starts moving again. And once you repeat this process 1 or 2 more times, you should be able to kill Necron. And there you go, now you have all the knowledge that you need to solo floor 7, and good luck.